you are resolving it by mobilizing hate.
Mina sengiyabona ukuthi bekwenziwa ihaba ngokuhlakanipha kwabantu be-EFF akho lutho la. Namhla ke kuhema udokotela ngqo lo bizwa ukuthi udokotela lokuthiwa uyena ohlakanipha ubadlula bonke. Uhlulwa into simple. Ukuchecka nje ukuthi abalelwa at how much ama-spaza shops akho ne-South Africa. Bese checka ukuthi ama-households imizi South Africa economy ingaki. Manje wachecka lezo zinto zombili uzobona ukuthi akakwazi ukuthi athi bashiwe yithi bafakwe yithi emagalaji ethu bafakwe yithi emzini wethu bese siyasuka siyomasha ngoba uzobuka iratio ka-150,000 spaza shop versus u-18 million households bese yabona no abantu abambalwa kabi abafake ama-foreigners ey'paza shop emzini yabo compared to abantu abangakwenzile lokho. So ke angeke ama-South Africans ama-household awu-18 million arepresentwe yimizi ewu-150,000. Angeke kuze kwenzeka kwenzi sense. There is no way ukuthi ngenzi sense. 18 million divided by 150,000 athi ngibale ngizobuya manje sengibalileke naye ngezansi irepresenta kanjani kumphakathi le nto eresh ibhalwe la bese kuthiwa bayazi khona into abayazi abazi lutho laba bantu kwase kwenziwa ihaba nje ezif khona into abayazi.
Your Dr. Ndlozi, your PhD doctors. I don't want to talk about him, but he said something that kind of like did my head in a bit. So I wanted to vent out my concern about his argument, really. So his argument really contains several logical and rhetorical problems that are worth discussing. First, we need to make fundamental distinctions between xenophobia, which is hostility or prejudice towards foreigners because they are foreigners. Doesn't matter whether they are legal or illegal. The xenophobia, it means someone has hostility or prejudice towards foreigners, regardless whether they are legally in the country, they're contributing positive to the society, just because they are foreigners. So concerns about illegal immigrations, undocumented immigrants or illegal immigrants, illegal aliens or crime, labor, labor exploitations of the very same illegal immigrants, or pressure on public infrastructures like your public school, public health care, your water and electricities. Those are valid concerns among citizens. And they are also a policy, a government policy issue. Conflicting these valid concerns and xenophobia, it's a false equivalent. All right? These people were people with PhD from Marabastad. All right? It's starting to annoy me.
Not Dr. Ndlozi. Actually, I'm not going to call him doctor because I'm starting to question his academics, his academic record. Not Ndlozi low-key asking for his job back at the EFF. Not him putting the names of Jacinta Ngobese Zuma, the names of your Phakelwa Mthakathi on the line so that he can sound relevant, and he can get his job back at the EFF. Get it, Charlie? We get it. You left the EFF thinking you resigned and left the party thinking they're gonna beg you, and they didn't beg you. You know, you went on, you got a 9 to 5, you started a podcast, and still, after all of that effort that you put in to try and make a name out of yourself outside of the party, outside of the EFF, you still miss the privileges that came with being a member of the EFF, with being a prominent member of the EFF, with being like a top leader in the EFF. You still miss those blue lights, the security, everything. You still miss those. So now you're in a comeback. There's absolutely, like, there's nothing wrong with trying to get back or go back to the party, but don't do it at the expense of people that are true patriots, of people that really and truly love their own country, South Africa. And I'm talking about Jacinta Ngobese Zuma and everyone else who's been involved in the March and March operations. So before I go deep into what this video is about, I want to show you something. You know, once politicians, different parties, different politicians from different parties, once they all start singing the same tune, once they all start saying the same thing, or saying something that is totally the opposite of what South Africans want, you must know that there's a lot of people that have their hand in the jar. And in this case, they have their hand in the illegal immigration jar. What I'm trying to say about this, it's too much of a coincidence that you find the likes of your Gaten McKenzie, the likes of Abu Julius Malema, and now Ndlozi, all singing the same tune. Even our president Cyril Ramaphosa, you know, before realizing that this is far more bigger, or the March and March movement is far more bigger than any other political agenda. After realizing that, then he started singing his own tune. But before then, he was talking about how, nah, we shouldn't be chasing people. What. Like, I'm trying to understand one thing. We don't have a problem with, obviously, our brothers from all the other African countries. What we have a problem with is undocumented foreigners. And I don't think people want to hear that they are trying by all means to discredit the March and March movement. Let me get into my video about Ndlozi, what he was saying. Listen to what he's...
With illegal immigration, that particular xenophobic movement, because they are resolving the problem amongst Africans. It's a problem amongst Africans. You are resolving it by mobilizing hate.
How Ndlozi in his video starts off by using keywords like hate, like a problem amongst Africans, things like disorganized, words like a hate, words that already plant an idea or a seed in your mind that whatever he's about to say, you need to agree with it, because already he's planted terms like xenophobia, terms like hate, terms like a problem amongst Africans. Look at how he's not addressing the elephant in the room and how he's trying to discredit the March, the March and March movement, the whole movement of thingy Abu Jacinta. Look at how he's trying to discredit them when he starts off his statement. So Ndlozi argues, right, in his argument, or not argument, in his statement, he says all of these Somalis, Bangladeshis, whatsoever, they are not in gated communities, they are not in the northern suburbs, they are not in high class areas. They are in our townships. So who gave them the permission? Because we are the landlords. So essentially, he's saying that we are the enablers of illegal immigration.
Pakistanis and Bangladesh, I think. It's very small, but let's say that. They are not in town, far away. They are not in complexes per se. Where are they? In your garages. Who opened the door of the garage for the Ethiopian to have a spaza shop? Who takes rent?
Which for me, and then you find people applauding him and saying this is academia at its finest. How, guys? That is not academia. If you say this is academia, you need to go back to school and study how it is possible for somebody to say to you, this is academic. Start by using certain keywords in order to drive a narrative. Basically what they're doing, they are brainwashing you. They want you to believe that whatever they are saying is correct, and it's not correct. Because first of all, it is not the responsibility of people in the township to check, number one, if people are documented or undocumented. Number one, right? Number two, you cannot find people in the country, right? You find people in the country that are struggling, that are facing all the socio-economic issues. I'm talking unemployment, poverty. I'm talking recovering from apartheid, from the divide and conquer past government tactics. And then you find those people in a setting, you're from a different country, you get in the country illegally, where you cut a deal with obviously people that we trusted to handle immigration. I'm talking Home Affairs, immigration at the border gates, etc. All of these officers, they take the jojo, they come into the townships. That is not the responsibility. It's not the problem of township people. When you're saying, nah, you're the ones that gave them permission. No, you can't say that, because now you're insinuating that how Ethiopians and Somalians came into South Africa is the result of people in the township, and which is not true. And then I think the second funny part is when he goes on and talks about tenderpreneurs, right? But in the manner that he's saying it, he's already planting a seed in you that tenderpreneurs are your black South Africans, right? Black South Africans who are our uncles. Remember, he's already coming from a point where he's talking about how we, and when I say we, I mean black South Africans, and not the other races, because he's basically talking about townships, and we know who occupies the townships. He says,
Tenderpreneurs are your uncles, they're the ones that hire in the construction sites. It's not just the white people. It's not just in the farms.
Look at how he's trying to shift. He's trying to shift the blame from the actual perpetrators, the actual people that enable illegal immigration in South Africa. Look at how he's slowly trying to shift, this thing away from the government, this thing away from Home Affairs, this thing away from immigration, this thing away from any other person who works in these departments that make sure that there's not people don't come in South Africa illegally. Look at how he's trying to shift it, and now he's making it about black South Africans. He's literally saying, your tenderpreneur uncles are the ones that hire Mozambicans who've been working in South Africa for over 200 years, right? He's throwing in the 200 years so that you can think, oh wow, he did even some research and whatnot. But this is a tactic that he's using in order for him to try and plant a seed in your mind. At the end of his speech, you are going to have no choice but to applaud him and to think that he said the smartest thing in the world. But in actual fact, he's only planting a seed of doubt in you. He's also planting a seed of hatred towards all the other people that want to see change in South Africa. Because at the end of the day, guys, we are not saying, March and March never said that they don't want illegal immigrants. They hate illegal immigrants. No, actually, not illegal immigrants. They never said they don't want anyone else in South Africa. They never said we are xenophobic. They said, guys, if you want to live in South Africa, get documented. Have the right papers. Don't just come in here and do as you please, because we don't do the same thing in your countries. And then you find people like Ndlozi saying the opposite of that. How? And then what really cracked me up the most is when he said,
but it's a mutual economy. They're not freestanding. They are your business transactions.
A mutual economy, Ndlozi. How is that a mutual economy? Because number one, when you're saying this is a mutual economy, the term mutual, it means both parties are benefiting. You cannot talk about irenti, for example, for 3.5 in a household where, first of all, unemployment is a thing. Not only unemployment, poverty is a thing, and they're trying to find ways on how to survive because the government messed up the entire system. You cannot say it's a mutual benefit. In this case, if you're about to use the term mutual, it needs to benefit the community. In actual fact, all of these puzzle shops, when you look at them, they do not benefit our economy. They do not benefit the townships in any other way. You find kids that have we find organizations in the townships. We find kids that are trying to start something. These shops, your sponsor shops, they do not give back to the community. So you cannot use the term a mutual economy. You cannot use those words such as big words like mutual economy, because when you start including the term mutual and economy, it means now we are talking the entire community, the entire township at this case, the entire country in South Africa. How are South Africans benefiting from spaza shops? How are they benefiting from all of these tuck shops when you're saying it's a mutual economy? So in all of this, after listening to this video, I personally have lost respect for Ndlozi. I thought he was a smart guy. I thought he was a well-spoken guy, well articulated. He was a very educated person. But in this instance, this doesn't show any form of academia or education. At this point, I'm seeing somebody who's low-key trying to go back to the EFF. And that's what it is. Let's call it for what it is. Ndlozi is just trying to get his job back at the EFF. Ha!
Your Dr. Ndlozi, your PhD doctors. I don't want to talk about him, but he said something that kind of like did my head in a bit. So I wanted to vent out my concern about his argument, really. So his argument really contains several logical and rhetorical problems that are worth discussing. First, we need to make fundamental distinctions between xenophobia, which is hostility or prejudice towards foreigners because they are foreigners. Doesn't matter whether they are legal or illegal. The xenophobia, it means someone has hostility or prejudice towards foreigners, regardless whether they are legally in the country, they're contributing positive to the society, just because they are foreigners. So concerns about illegal immigrations, undocumented immigrants or illegal immigrants, illegal aliens or crime, labor, labor exploitations or the very same illegal immigrants, or pressure on public infrastructures like your public school, public health care, your water and electricities. Those are valid concerns among citizens. And they are also a policy, a government policy issue. Conflicting these valid concerns and xenophobia, it's a false equivalent. All right? These people were people with PhD from Marabastad. All right? It's starting to annoy me.